Here's what I think when I have this hair. First name Mr., last name Glass. That's it. Because that is just straight up his hair without the white thing. Oh, wrong way. Mirrors trick me. It's a random fact about gorillas. So if you put a mirror in front of a gorilla, they can't tell it's not them. So a gorilla will see a gorilla mirror in the mirror, and he was like, what the hell? And then he'll just bum rush the thing. He will bum rush that mirror. It's crazy. It's really funny, like, you'll see different animals interact with mirrors, and to see which ones can tell what's going on, which ones can't, is very interesting. Like, other kinds of monkeys and apes, they'll see it, and then they'll get caught, and like, what the... And then they'll like, what the... Okay, they're getting close to me, I'm getting close to them. And then they'll play with their reflection, trying to understand. I really wonder if they are starting to get it a little bit. But gorilla, straight up bum rush, just goes right at it. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of funny. But that's what they do. Whereas, I think it's peacocks. Peacocks, straight up, I think they know that they're in a mirror, because what they do is they'll totally just flare out, and then they'll just check themselves out. They're like, yeah, I look good. Because peacocks don't do that normally to each other. They don't do that. They don't like, oh, look at you. Oh, you just look good in that color. No, they don't do that. So it's very interesting seeing them in a mirror. Like, yeah, they know. They know what they strutting, basically. It's funny. So what is today's vlog about? So let's talk about projects. The Kirby podcast has been slow to come back because after what happened with the strike, copyright strike should be gone soon. But that stuff's not going to be on the main channel. It has its own channel. If you like the Kirby podcast, it has its own channel now. And I think we're just being very slow about the anime for now. And we'll do more of the gaming stuff. We got gaming to catch up on anyway, so we're doing Kirby's Toy Box. So Kirby's Toy Box is very interesting because nobody knows what it is. I can guarantee none of you know what it is besides me right now. Kirby's Toy Box, because you don't know what the console is either, was on the Satellaview. So Nintendo's been ahead of its time, always. They're always the first ones to do it. Nintendo had motion controls back in the Super Nintendo era. Did you know that? For F-Zero, they had motion control. Was it the NES? Now I gotta double check. They had a motion control, so you could just go left and right with this thing. They had motion controls back then. Holy crap. And they also did digital first. So what they had was satellite connection. You had a console with a satellite connection. It's basically Super Nintendo level. And you just digitally downloaded games and you played them. That's what happened there. And so the Satellaview had 8 Kirby games called the Kirby's Toy Box. At some point, like 2001, 2005, like 3 of them got bought. And then they got put up into the public, so for preservation. And then 4 more got bought into like 2015, I think, or 2016 actually, for preservation as well. There's one game that has been lost to time. No one can find a copy of it. This is the same thing with a lot of things with Kirby. There are some things about the Kirby anime for the US version that are lost to time. Because the only known recording of it was someone's VHS tape, and the VHS tape got corrupted. So there is an episode that's it'll be like another year or two before we get to that episode, where I gotta note that, yeah, the US version of this is lost to time. Only, as far as we know, one kid recorded it, and their tape got corrupted. So the only way to fully see this scene is in the Japanese version. It's very interesting when you look at just old things and how they've been lost. And that's the thing that's being talked about right now when it comes to like Netflix and Disney and all that, is the preservation of originals and just preservation in general, because of this digital age where some things are not going to be preserved. Like, Netflix cycles out their stuff all the time. You think you're going to have access to these things all the time, but you're not. They get cycled out. People just don't notice that. Disney may do the same thing. They had the vault before. And here's the thing about Disney with their old stuff. So Cinderella is the best example of this. Cinderella, old original Cinderella. If you had the VHS tape of Cinderella, you have basically the purest version of this thing. Because when they did a remaster of Cinderella, they took the original cells, the original animation, they took that and they scrubbed it to get the grain out. So when they scrubbed it to get the grain out, it lost lines. And you can see visual examples of this where Cinderella's dress has a bunch of lines and a lot of detail on it to show you it's a dress, and it's got, of course, well, how would a dress be? It would have lines on it to define its texture and everything to it. The remastered version, brighter color, but a bunch of the lines are gone, a bunch of the lining's gone because they scraped it off, because they were scraping off the grain. That is what happened. That's a crazy thing. So I don't know about preservation for certain things anymore. Like, what's happening? Is it all digital or not? Because some things are recorded purely in digital now. There's no like big film reel recording anymore. And by the way, those things are giant, massive reels, by the way. But I wonder about that, about preservation. Will things get lost to time because of that? That's, some people think we're in the void era because they think that maybe in like 100 or so years or 1,000 years, this era will not be known because we're in such a digital age where things will not be preserved as well as, of course, things on paper and other such things. Of course, paper can deteriorate as well, but it's different how that deterioration would work out. Whereas things just degrade over time. That's simple. Like your CDs degrade over time, your hard drives degrade over time. Everything degrades over time. It's just that physical media's they have a certain way of preservation that allows them to last longer. I don't understand the process, but it's something that can be done. So that's interesting. That's interesting. So there's an interesting fact right there. Things of channel. So I just ordered 8 more amiibos. So I found a good deal. I found a bunch of amiibos for like $15. I found Pichu. I found Richter. I found Simon Belmont. So I got the Belmonts. Snake. Evil Samus. I found all these different amiibos for like under 20 when they're normally like 20, 30, 50, $60. By the way, right now Bayonetta is $69. Someone's doing that on purpose. Someone is ordering it at $69 on purpose, and whoever it is a very nice person. But I can't pay that for Bayonetta. So I'm getting more amiibos. Why am I getting more amiibos? Because I'm bringing back the amiibo fights. I've said this already before, that the marble races got me thinking like I could do a higher production version, and I'm starting to get the work in there. I've already starting to record idle animations and putting together stat cards and things like that. And it'll be a fun project for editing and things like that, and more cast practice, because I haven't done casting in forever. So I want to practice casting again. And it'll be fun. It'll be a really silly thing to do. Jinx says we should put it on the main channel if I'm going to put so much work into it. I'm like, yeah, that's true. It should go on the main channel if I'm putting so much work on it. As the thing is, our main channel is such a place of so many projects, and then the side channel is such a place of other projects. Well, more like the LPs and things I'm just playing, and just things that don't need to be in the main channel. Things that are not going to get as much attention. You could argue maybe the LPs don't get as much attention, but the LPs are just, but they're also ways of learning. Like, my voice work has gotten so much better this year, for sure, because I've been putting a lot more effort into it. And I think the voice work for Origami King is really good. The final battle of Origami King, I think I did really good voice work for that. So I'm really happy about that. And voice work for random characters as well is pretty good. Of course, because the main character is a little girl, I got a lot of practice at doing a little girl voice. So that was fun. Yeah. Okay, what else is there? Basically Podcast. You should check out the Captain Dangerous episode. The Captain Dangerous episode of Basically Podcast was really good. Very inspirational. This lady she's been at photography 8 years while we've been at YouTube for 7 years, and she's grown so much, and she's so good at it, and she's getting so much better at it. And the things she had to say about improving was just very inspirational. It made me want to do more work. And her work's just impressive as heck, and it's really cool hearing about her and her husband. And so I'm going to have her on again in the future with her husband, and I can't wait for that talk, because I get to just understand more about the craft of photography and the craft of product photography, and it's so cool to me. I really like it, and I really want to talk to them. So I'm excited for that in the future. And the cool thing about it is she knows a lot of people too, and she's like, if you want to talk to these people, just let me know. I'm like, oh, okay. When it comes to guests, I rotate to different groups. So I've got my friends. So I got my friends, and I try not to do them back to back. So I'll do my friends, like Mez, Spiff's coming up. I'll do Verbal, and like other people, they'll be in this section right here. That's one group. Another group, of course, is game devs. So if I can get a game dev that wants to come down, then I'll get them. Or if I get just basically strangers, like people I might be a fan of or whatever, they're this group. And so I had this rotation of different groups because I don't want to over milk any of these groups. So I'm like, all right, so on the back burner, Captain Dangerous has some people I could talk to, so I'll approach her soon, but not right away, because I don't want to just exhaust that, what's going on over there. So I'm like, go friends, look at the game devs some more, see if there's anyone who wants to talk yet. No one yet. Okay, so I'll go to these other groups. Like, then there's these artists that I know, these multiple artist groups that I know, So I'll be drawing from over there, see if anyone wants to come in from there. And so I have all these different groups that I'm rotating around. I got all these spinning plates I'm spinning because I don't want to just be drawn from one area if I can help it. I just want us to be very much variety things, so I'm just pulling from different places. Like, my friends are a place to get interesting, just shooting shit kind of talking going on there. And also, it's always something interesting from there. Conversation is always going to be interesting in some way for somebody. So I don't see these conversations as not worth having, ever. There's always something good to talk about. As boring as it is for one person, it's very fascinating for another person. Like, I really find a lot of value in the Captain Dangerous episode. I'm just telling this again. Because even if you're not into product photography, even if you're not into the artistry of the work and everything, she talks about growth and improvement in a way that it can be applied to any field, really. And that's what I really liked about that podcast a lot. So that's why it's my favorite one right now. My favorite podcast right now is that one. And it's also interesting when sometimes we talk about social issues, like the podcast with Smidge and Micah. That one was really good. A lot of social issue talking there. Same thing with Sony. That was also good. And a plan coming up is the elections in November. And somehow I forgot it's always the second Tuesday. So the election's in November. I'm going to get 2 Prime, probably the first week of November if I can. I'm going to get Micah again. And I need to find maybe 1 or 2 more. And I want have like the weeks before the election, I want to talk to people and where they're at about the politics of things. That's where I want to talk to people. So 2 Prime knows way too much about politics compared to me. So he's also a very objective person about it. So he's a good person to talk to right before the election. So I'm getting him. I want to get Micah because she is a college student. She is multiracial. She's, let's see here. She's also a girl. So there's a lot going on there that would be interesting for a perspective on politics from there. Also, she's up in the Northwest. And then I got friends who are in the South and in the East. But I'm trying to find, here's the thing, I'm trying to find like a Republican that I can talk to. And I don't know if I know anyone. Like, I know Republicans, but I don't know anyone who knows enough about politics to really talk about it as a Republican. They don't even need no politics. They just need to have an area of perspective that's worth talking to about it. But I know the one thing is, like, anyone who supports Trump, I just can't. And that's the hard part is, I don't know if I want to talk to someone to that level. My family, I'm the only non-Republican in my family. I believe myself more centrist. But my family's just all Republicans, and they support Trump and this and that. And so I already just have a tolerance with that. I don't know if I want to have a tolerance. I don't know if I have a tolerance with a stranger, though. Like, I'm already using up all my energy with family. So I don't know if I have the tolerance with a stranger or even a friend who's just very pro-Trump. I don't think I have the tolerance for that, despite building a tolerance from that. It's different ways to see it. It's either it's a tolerance thing, or it's just energy being expended. So I think the latter is the way to put it. Is I'm expending so much energy just dealing with family being extremely pro-Trump that I don't have any more energy for someone I don't really know that well. And I don't have any friends who are pro-Trump. You gravitate to what works with you and all that. I gotta find what I can do. I don't know. I think it's important to talk to people you disagree with. It, of course, is. But it has to be someone you're comfortable with being in disagreement with. Because if you're in disagreement with someone you don't have enough rapport with, then it's just going to be very hateful. That's what I think. If it's someone that you respect, or it's someone that you're friends with, you'll have more energy, be more open to trying to understand their side. And the truth of the matter is, there are certain people where, okay, you get why they would be pro-Trump, because Trump is doing things that are in their favor. He's doing things that is in their favor that they like, that despite the things they might not like about Trump, he's doing enough of what they do like that they're willing to vote for him again, because the last 4 years have been good for them. And it really becomes a question of how much do you care about yourself compared to other people, I think. Like, do you only care in politics about your standing, or do you care about the standing of other people? I think that's really part of politics, is what do you actually care about? But this isn't part of what I want to talk about at the end of this whole thing, but that is interesting to talk about, is just, the truth of the matter is, and I've said this before many times, politics are complicated, but we oversimplify it way too much. And because we oversimplify it way too much, we do things that are hurting ourselves because we don't actually notice that until it's usually too late. Said it before, poor white people usually vote Republican because they want to screw over minorities and immigrants and things like that because they're taking advantage of food stamps and things like that. Problem is, the vast majority of users of food stamps and other assistance like that are poor white people. They're the majority, because of course they are. They're 70% of the country. So they're going to be using it more than minorities using it, more than immigrants are using it. So they are literally cutting their nose to spite their face. They're literally doing that, and they don't recognize that. That is what's crazy about it. They'll talk about like how these guys aren't paying taxes or that. There are plenty of people in DACA who are paying plenty of taxes. Whereas thanks to tax breaks here and there, people are not contributing as much as immigrants are. But they don't understand that because politics is kind of complicated. As much as I understand politics, I know I don't understand all of it. That's why I'm getting 2 Prime, because he understands a lot more than me, because he's really fascinated and interested in politics. Very different from me in that. He's also a guy who reads too damn much. He reads way more than I do. I don't think I've read a book in years. Yeah, I don't think I've read a book since college. That was 15 years ago. Unless you count comic books. And he's like, you can count comic books, because they're still stories. I'm like, I guess. But anyway, an important thing I want to touch on before ending this out is, politics are very complicated. They're hard to get into, but you should try to do your due diligence to understand politics especially when it comes to voting. I feel like if you're going to vote, you should actually understand the subject matter. I think the biggest disservice we do to ourselves and to our country and to each other, everything, is to treat politics as a sports thing. To treat politics as a lineage. To treat politics as a birthright kind of thing. My entire family is Republican. And by the logic of everyone else, I should also be Republican. But I'm not. I feel more towards the center, because there are obviously things on the left I like, and there's obviously things on the right that I like. And so because of that, I'm more down the center, because I feel pretty split on a lot of things. I don't down the ballot left or right. I go like, all right, what do I think of this subject? All right, let me read up on it. This is what I think, and this is what I'm going to vote. That's what I do. You get time to pick your votes on the thing. You can take your ballot, go out. I've done this. I take my ballot, I go out and have lunch. I read up on the subjects. As I'm eating, I'm like, oh, I'll pick this one. I'll have like an hour lunch. Eat, read, figure out what my actual opinion is, put it in, and then there you go. And then go over there, put the ballot in, and then I'm done. That's what I do every election. That's how I do it. I try to pay attention. I try to read up and understand the subject as best I can. Read the there's always a pro and con in there usually, and just try to understand it and make your vote. Way too many, like, you get why people are like, well, down the ballot, because then the more people from my side are in this thing, the better chance I have of things going. But there are people on both sides who are just not very helpful to their side, despite the fact they're on that side. You want a big example? Trump himself is a big example. You think that's a Republican? That's not a Republican. He's been a Democrat almost all of his life. And then he becomes a Republican in, like, what, 2010, 12? I think it was 8. He's barely been a Republican for more than 10 years. That's it. He's been a Democrat his whole life. And he was trying to utilize Democrats for what he wanted to do. They wouldn't buy into it, so he hopped over. It's still amazing that John McCain gets called a rhino and Trump doesn't. That's how strongly charismatic Trump has been on the right. Because John McCain has been a Republican his whole damn life, and he got called a Republican in name only, not Trump? The man who literally is that? Are you kidding me? I really think you should take the time to just look and see, what do I actually think of this? Forget party lines. What matters to me in this subject? And do that every time. What do you actually care about? Do you care about... Okay, when it comes to... Let's do the big ones. When it comes to abortion, what do you actually feel about abortion? Ignoring what your party is, what do you actually think about it? This is the thing that is hurting us, is we think about parties, we don't think about subjects. When you've made up your mind about something because of your party, before you've actually read what it is, or who it is, or any of that, you're an idiot. You know you're being an idiot. I know I was an idiot when I didn't do that crap back in the day. When I first voted, I'm like, oh, I just do all the Democrat. All right, just do all Democrat. There you go. And as I got older, I realized I'm just blindly doing things. I should be paying attention. I was an idiot. And I will say that to any of us. You should actually pay attention. What are you doing voting and affecting lives on something you have not actually read up on? You can say that the politicians who've done that shit all the time as well. They will just vote down their party line because that's what they do. That's not okay. It's never okay. It should never have been okay. And yet that's what we have done. We can be better people. We can be better politically minded. And that is what I'm arguing is, you should actually read this shit. You really should. This isn't like when you buy an iPhone or an Android or a program on the computer where you just hit yes when you don't read any of it. This is different. This is politics. This actually matters. You should read. You should just read. It's going to take time, but you should read. Like, there are times when you need to eat your vegetables. If you're a vegetarian, this doesn't make any sense to you. But there are times when you need to eat your vegetables. When you need to just get through that, and then you can go have your damn dessert. We already talk about politics very little mindfully as it is. We do a lot of parroting of what other people say. We all do it. We're all guilty of it. And it's important when we recognize it to just like, okay, what do I actually think? Because the problem is, the reason why fake news gets spread so well and just so badly is because we just believe some random person on the internet is telling us the truth, and then we just share it, or we say what they said. We don't actually... There's a lot of times when people will say stuff without actually watching the video. We see it in the comments all the time for plenty of videos. Like, that's not what this video is about in any way. That's not what this article is about in any way. You can tell when people actually haven't read anything or haven't watched anything. And we should not be that. And so this is me just imploring us to do better on that. That's it. All right, that's it. That's the podcast. I mean, that's the vlog. That's the vlog. That's all of it. In 20 minutes, that's enough. That's enough. That's it. So that is the vlog. I had fun talking to people, watching and listening, and that's what it's all about, is it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.